Good evening, everybody. This is MachetteVanHelsing, and we are about to begin the first session, the first class of Egregore University. Okay, so we got all the preliminaries out of the way. We got the orientation out of the way. You guys know what this is about, so let's get started. Okay, first thing we're going to cover is what is an egregore? Okay, what is an egregore? All right, so without going into definitions and technical terms, I'm going to explain it my way because you'll understand it better my way, right? Okay, so here's what an egregore is. An egregore is an entity that is created by an individual or a group. The second thing I'm going to say is that an egregore is an entity that is created with the mind, because the mind creates, okay? So it is either an individual mind or a group mind that creates an egregore, okay? Next, an egregore is also, right, an entity that takes on a life of its own, which is to say that it is an entity that exists in a realm that is beyond the capabilities of the human eye. So, let me explain that to you. All right. Now, the spiritual realm and the physical realm, these concepts are very deep. Saying physical realm and spiritual realm really is kind of like, how can I describe it? It's like talking about the icing on a cake and not talking about the cake or the ingredients of the cake, So when we say these things, we need to understand what's behind them, okay? So now, let me just break this down really simply for you, okay? Now, the physical realm is everything that can be touched or seen, okay? Now, the confusion comes in when people consider the spiritual realm as a realm where there are things that cannot be touched or seen, right? This is not true. This is not true. So I'm going to clear up the confusion right now. All right. Light is made of matter. We know this. Light particles, right? Okay. Light is made of matter. Matter is physical. Okay. So if there were an entity that was made of pure light, okay, that entity would still be physical because light is made of physical particles. Light is made of matter. Okay? Now, here is this is so crazy, right? But this will help you understand everything. Now, matter is merely vibrational frequencies aggregated, which means collected in a certain pattern, okay, which gives off light, sound, heat, and creates matter, okay? Whew. Now, and reflects light and gives off light. So, actually, right, everything is made of light. Everything is made of frequency. Different collections, different aggregations of frequencies, right? So that's what everything is created. That's what everything is made up of, okay? So I say that to get into this. The human eye can only see a fraction of the spectrum of light. This means that the human eye can only see a certain amount of physical things. There are physical things that the human eye just cannot see. Okay? That doesn't mean that these things are not physical. That doesn't mean that these things cannot be touched. The spectrum of light is very wide. The human eye only sees a part of that spectrum of light. So there are physical things, beings, places, insects, animals that we just can't see. Okay? All right. Now, egregores are entities that exist in that realm, and the mind creates them. Okay? So I need everyone to understand that whether you're sketching or doodling something on a piece of paper, whether you're writing a story and creating characters in a story, whether you're creating an alter ego, whether you're starting a business, setting up a trust, starting a nonprofit organization, trying to take control of the entity of the straw man, right? I need you guys to understand that we're dealing with actual entities. You're creating actual entities. Now, it's a problem to me because people are creating entities all the time and have no idea, and a lot of these entities are going bad, going negative, and they're causing turmoil in their lives, in the lives of the people around them. And so it's a problem that people are creating and they don't even know it. Now, the thing is, if people know what they're doing, right, they can create positive entities that do good out there and that can help them become successful in life. That is what these secret societies, that is what the elite, one of the main things that they're keeping from people. I'm here to teach that to you. Okay? So when we speak about creating entities, it's very real, and you need to understand how real that is. So you can imagine that starting a business, right? Setting up a trust, and you did not decide what that entity looks like, what that entity is made up of, what that entity feeds on, that means that you've created an incomplete entity, right? So it'll take on whatever form whatever form it chooses. That means that it will feed on whatever energy it chooses to feed on. And that usually ends up not being a good thing. So you need to control the situation. You need to know what you're doing. You need to complete the creation of these entities. So let's get into the entity creation sheet. Okay? I'm going to briefly go back and forth between the teaching about egregores and their creation and the entity creation sheet. Okay? So, now, most of you, I hope all of you, have completed the entity creation sheet because it is extremely important. Someone asked me, so when I complete the entity creation sheet, do I send it in? Do I hand it in to you? No, everyone, you do not send these entity creation sheets to me. These entity creation sheets are for you. Okay? So that you can understand the complete creation of entities. Now, we're going to go over some of the things in the entity creation sheet. And then I'm going to get into a topic that is in second place of importance. Is like the next most important thing, other than creating entities. Like, let me get into the entity creation sheet first, because I'm passionate about the things that I teach and the things that I talk about, and the things that I do. So you have to excuse me when I become passionate, but this is very serious, right? So let's get into the entity creation sheet. The reason why I gave that to you is so that you can have, and it's for you, so that you can refer to it. And what happens is that, the purpose of the entity creation sheet is so that once you fill it out, not only do you have a complete understanding of what you're doing when you create entities, when you start a business, when you set up a trust, you need to know what you're doing. So what happens is, by filling this out, now you understand what it is that everyone's doing. Now you understand what it is that everyone's not doing, right? Also, the entity creation sheet helps you to create the actual entity. So what it is that by filling out these questions, by completing this sheet, your mind actually records what you filled out. In your mind recording what you filled out, it creates the entity. So the entity creation sheet actually helps you create the entity, right? That's what it's for. Because once you've completed that, the entity actually has a form, has a purpose, and so all of those details, the more details you have, right? How can I say, not the more real, how can I say it? It's not the more real the entity will be. Well, actually, the more complete the entity will be, so the stronger the entity will be. So when you create an entity and the creation of that entity is incomplete, it will be a weak entity, right? Now, here's the problem with that. The elite, right? Here's the purpose for them being in charge and control of the creation of businesses and statutory trusts. They try to make sure that they control that, right? The reason for them controlling that is because they know exactly what people are doing when they create entities. So what it is that they decide what the entity looks like. They decide what the entity feeds off of. They actually own the entities that you create if you don't take full control of them. If you don't complete the creation, they will complete the creation for you. And in most cases, they know that people are not going to do this. So for the businesses and trusts that people create behind the scenes, they're doing everything on this entity creation sheet that everyone's not doing, that all these people are not doing. And not only that, but they control it. So again, you set yourself up to be an employee, because what they're doing is they're actually controlling the entity and you're doing the work and hiring the workers. And so in that situation, because the entity actually has more power than you, right? Because it can do things that you can't, and they're controlling that. See? In most cases, they let these entities build up and then they destroy them and take all of the assets. See? So that's why you need to completely create your entity, and you need to completely control the entity. Okay? Now, next, we are going to get into sigils and seals. Now, tonight's material, I'm going to be sending out a file called Sigils and Seals, because this is ultra important. Okay, here's the deal with that. Corporate logos, symbols, they're actually called sigils. Okay, this is something else that people have no idea about. This is something that is one of the main things that causes the problems that all these people are trying to get out of, right? When we receive documents from the government or from any other corporate entity, those documents usually have corporate seals and logos on them, right? These logos, right? These seals are actually called sigils, and they're actually magical seals. All you have to do is go grab a piece of mail, right? Piece of mail from the state, from the government, and take a look at it. There's going to be magical wording. There's going to be a circle around it. Those are magical seals. That's my business. That's the business that I'm in. So I've studied this when I was a teenager, man, right? And I knew about this a long time ago. It's just that I never connected the two, right? I learned what to look out for, though, because there are certain shapes, certain patterns that evil uses when they create their logos and symbols. And so I learned what to look out for when I'm outside. You know, I'll see a store and I'll see their logo and I'll look at it and see certain things in it, and I'll know whether to be suspicious of that business or not, you know, because what happens is these sigils, these magical seals, actually have magical effects. And when I say magical, you got to excuse me using that word, but when I say magical, I mean natural magic, right? When I say natural magic, I mean that everything is cause and effect. Okay, everything is frequency, everything is vibration. Okay, so magic, natural magic, is simply science that scientists don't understand yet, because they have not fully come to an understanding of vibration and frequency. Not yet. So these seals, these logos, these symbols, these sigils have effects on things, on people, on places, okay? And when people start businesses, you know, people set up trusts. They decide to create their, you know, people want their family crests for their trusts. People want their logos for their businesses. It needs to be considered what you're actually doing. It needs to be considered what is actually being done to you. Okay? So I'm going to send out this file called Sigils and Seals, and I need you guys to study that, because, you know, once you create the entity, you're going to have to create the logo next. Okay? Let's see. From here, we're going to go back to the entity creation sheet because there are some things, some very important things that I want to point out. Okay, so the creation part, breathing air into it, charging the entity's object, you know, I know that I know that it seems like science fiction, but that's the problem. The science fiction is reality. And what people consider as everyday reality, that's what's fake. That's the fiction. See? So what they're hiding from everyone, they're not actually hiding it. They put it in your face. It's up to you to use your discernment. Okay? Understand that a lot of these horror movies about hauntings and possessions are based on true stories. A lot of what we study in history is way more interesting than these movies. So please understand that what I'm talking about, this is very real. We are being bombarded by entities all the time, all day. Logos, symbols, their commercials, their jingles. It's bananas. I mean, everywhere we go, there's logos. There's nothing but business out there. The public is all business, right? But you need to understand that every business is an actual entity. When you get mail, you're getting mail from an entity, not a man, not a woman. These are entities attacking you. These are entities abusing you. And you can actually create entities to protect you from those entities, to defend you against those entities. Right? You can use your entities to go out there and do things for you. You can create as many entities as you like. Egregore University is to teach you how to create entities, positive entities, the right way, how to train, and how to control them. Once you learn how to do that, you're going to have fun creating entities. And because we are being bombarded by and attacked by and harassed and abused by negative entities from every angle, people need to learn how to create positive entities so that we can do something about that. Because a single man, woman, unless you're a priest, you're not going to do very well up against entities, obviously, as everyone can see. I'm the living, breathing man, I'm the living, breathing woman, and I claim none of that works, because what it is that you're up against entities and you have no entity to defend you. You have no entity to protect you. You have no entity to enforce these claims in the public, because only entities interact with each other in the public. Only entities are able to enforce these claims in these documents. So, now, moving forward, one of the most important things on the entity creation sheet is the ID number. If you have created Entity 83, if you have the business entity creation kit, right, then the ID number for your entity will begin with the numbers 83, right? If you set up a trust, your ID number will be the trust EIN number. And that EIN number can be any number. It doesn't have to be a 98 number, because all private trusts are foreign to the United States Incorporated. You do not need a 98 series EIN number to be foreign to the United States. Okay? The United States is the District of Columbia, which is D.C., the white buildings that look like Rome. That's the United States. Everything outside of it is foreign to it. Okay? So, all private trusts are foreign to the United States Incorporated. Statutory trusts are property of the United States Incorporated. Okay? And under the jurisdiction of the United States Incorporated. But all private trusts are foreign. Okay? Just wanted to say that. So the ID number has to be the trust EIN number or the corporation EIN number, which should begin with the numbers 83. Okay? Let's see. What's the next? Let's go over what your entity looks like is very important also. You'll either want to sketch that, get somebody who draws to sketch it, or create it on a computer, right? You can even really create an image in your head and make sure you constantly, have that image in your head and you can keep it there, right? But it works better when you put it on paper. Powers and abilities. Okay, look. Whatever your goal is, right? Whatever your goal is, whatever your desires are, whatever your needs are, right? First, you're going to pray. Okay? You're going to pray to the first source and center, the first intelligent being that ever existed, God. You're going to pray. You're going to ask our Father for whatever it is that you would like to do. You're going to ask him to help you figure out how to do it. That works better than asking him for things. Asking him to help you figure out how to get them works better, right? So the first thing I suggest is praying on all of this. You have to pray on all of this to whatever your higher power is, man. Okay? The second thing is, you are going to have to understand that the entity that you create, its purpose, right? The reason for it existing is supposed to be to help you do something. Okay? To help you with something. To assist you with something. Okay? So, you are supposed to match up your goals with your entity's purpose, because the entity will go out there and help you do it. Okay? That can be a spiritual purpose. It could be a business purpose. It could be private, personal. But you will match up your goals with the purpose of the creation of the entity. Okay? Now, let's see here. What else is important here in the entity? Everything's important in the entity creation sheet, but there's certain things that I want to highlight and bring up. Let's see. Okay. Now, for those that have the business entity creation kit, those that are creating new corporate entities or those that are converting the straw man, understand that that entity is a business. You're going to have to decide what industry that business is in. You're going to have to decide what that entity sells. You're going to have to do business, man. You're going to need a business plan. Okay? Your entity's going to need a business plan. You're going to need a corporate portfolio with stocks in it and minutes. It's a business. You're going to have to start doing business. That's what creating this entity means. That's what converting the straw man from an employee to a corporation means. Once it becomes a corporation, it is a business, and you have to start doing business. So you have to start studying business, right? Okay, so what I want to say next is, the next thing I would like everyone to do, right? Okay, for those that have the business entity startup kit, you are going to be going into your package and you're going to start and complete your business plan template, right? It will be much easier for you to complete the business plan now that you have the entity creation sheet completed, okay? For those that have a trust package, you are going to be going to your package and you're going to be completing the trust indenture. That document is titled Indenture Management. You are going to use the entity creation sheet to help you complete the trust indenture. Okay? Once you guys have a business plan, once you have a trust indenture, you will be ready to do business. You will be ready to start gaining access to the value of what you created. You will be able to start making money. You will be able to start going out into the public and being treated differently. Okay? But your business needs a business plan. Your trust needs a trust indenture, or there is no trust, or there is no business. Okay? The next thing, in setting up the business, for those that are setting up the business, the purpose of Entity 83 is that it is a one-man business. You are not hiring anyone. Work for yourself means work for yourself. Once someone else works for you, you just messed up. You were told to work for yourself. Okay? Be your own boss. Once you hire somebody, you're somebody else's boss, and you missed the point. Be your own boss, right? Those are clues describing a one-man business, which is called a solopreneur. Okay? A solopreneur is a walking, talking business. You are the only individual in the corporation because you are the corporation. Okay? All right. Now, you're going to need people in place. Those people will be brought on as independent contractors. Okay? Now, you're going to need to have these people in place. You need things done. Depending on what your business is, you're going to need people to help you. Those people will be independent contractors. Do not hire employees. Don't do it. Okay? Study the documents, the ebooks, the manuals that I sent you that you have in your package. Study them. Okay? For those that have the trust package, if there are no trustees in place, okay, there is no trust. You need at least one beneficiary, 2 trustees, and yourself as the grantor. You can also be the general manager, but you need at least 2 trustees in place and 1 beneficiary. If you do not and 1 protector, which is a judge. which means that if there's any conflict within the trust, within the kingdom, within the estate, within the state, you'll have a judge in place to mediate those conflicts. That is very important. If you do not have a protector in place, which is a judge, and the state finds out about this conflict, they will provide a judge for you. Whatever you don't have, they'll provide it for you. And then you'll fall under their jurisdiction. You need 2 trustees, at least 1 beneficiary, and a protector. Okay? Without those things, there is no trust. So, that's what I need you guys to do next. Our next class is going to be on Friday at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right? You'll be able to look underneath the channel section on the website and see the documents. I'm going to add the Sigils and Seals document. I'm going to add some information to help you guys fill out the indenture and the business plans. And our next class, I'll actually be on video. I don't know when I'm going to start going live, but yeah, let's see. I had a project for you guys. What was that? Oh, right. The project was I need everybody to come up with some type of sketch or image of what your entity looks like for the next class. I also would like you guys to have your indentures and or business plans filled out by Friday. All right? So that's it. That concludes tonight's class. You guys are the greatest. Talk to you Friday.